Hey everyone, and welcome to another B Gaming video. Now that we're entering the first weekend since Final Fantasy XIV's new Endwalker expansion drop, and not counting the early access, I thought I'd help out some of you in the 14 community with a guide to one of the most highly anticipated jobs the game has released, Reaper. In today's video, I'll tell you how to unlock this amazing looking damage dealer, or DPS, and break down the rotation for you so you can get started right away. Also, if this is your first melee job and you're used to other roles, this guide should be a perfect starting point for you. This job starts at level 70, and the video will go over the rotation at that point with the level 70 skills. I do plan to do videos shortly here for both Reaper and Summoner at level 90. The Summoner's new changes have, in my opinion, made it the best looking job alongside Reaper in the game's current state. A level 90 rotation guide is no good when you first start out, as with certain skills and traits available to you that will really change things up. Speaking of cool looking things, please consider helping this channel look cooler to YouTube's algorithm by dropping a like or comment below and subscribing for more videos, including the upcoming Reaper and Summoner content that I have planned for you. Let's start by going over the requirements to unlock this job. First things first, you must own and have registered an Endwalker expansion registration code to your relevant account via the infamous Square Enix account management system. Note that if you play multiple platforms, you need a separate code for each, PC, PlayStation, etc. The only other requirement to access the Reaper job quest is to have a level 70 Disciple of War magic job, granted that you beat Endwalker's Q boss when attempting to log in. Once you've met these requirements, head to Uldal, Steps of Nald, and speak to the Flustered Attendant NPC, located here on the map. You'll speak to some characters, watch some scenes, and have a few dialogue choices. The quest doesn't have you travel far, pretty much just around the corner within Uldal to wrap things up. Once completed, you're rewarded with your new Reaper Soulstone, a basic level 70 scythe allowing you to change into the new job, as well as a coffer with some basic armor. I recommend traveling to Rhalgr's Reach, Stormblood's main hub, to spend some poetic tombstones on item level 400 Skaven gear. You'll be purchasing the maiming set as the Reaper shares armor with Dragoon. I myself farm more poetic tomes in the Gimble Dark, a level 70 4-man dungeon that rewards 100 tomes and was great practice while getting a feel for the job along with some experience points. As a Reaper, you'll have access to a handful of role actions, seen on the list here. The most important role action is True North. This nullifies directional requirements, meaning that it's going to help you out with any positional attacks so that you don't lose damage or DPS when you may not be able to get to a target's rear or flank. This is handy for, say, those boss fights where the head is the only thing on the edge of the arena with no way around to the back, or just when your tank or the monsters are in a bad spot. Down at level 70, you'll have 3 active job traits on Reaper. The first is the Soul Gauge. This allows your red bar to fill when landing certain attacks, as well as when you kill any enemies that were marked by Death's Design. Souls can be used to execute the Blood Stalk and Grim Swath abilities, as well as a later level 76 ability called Gluttony. You'll see Death's Design and these 2 attacks shortly in the rotation guide sections of this video. You'll constantly be trying to fill up and spend souls in this gauge to maximize your damage output. Your next trait is Death Scythe Mastery, a straightforward buff or potency increase to your main combo attack. Lastly, you'll have Enhanced Avatar. This grants you the effect of Soul Reaver when you successfully land the Bloodstock or Grim Swath attacks that we just covered with your Blood Gauge. We'll be going over this now in the rotation guides. Now let's discuss your main single target rotation. First, you want to use Shadow of Death for 2 reasons. First off, this marks the target with Death's Design, granting you increased soul gauge whenever you kill an enemy with the debuff. Second, this debuff grants you 10% increased damage against targets marked by the ability. Follow up this attack with Soul Slice, granting you 50 soul gauge instantly. Spend that 50 soul gauge on the Bloodstock attack. This grants yourself Soul Reaver status. This allows you to utilize one of your big positional attacks, Gibbet, which is used from the target's flank or side. With your soul gauge spent, you move into your main 1-2-3 combo to build it back up. This is Slice into Waxing Slice into Infernal Slice. Once you've built up enough soul gauge, spend it again on another Bloodstalk to obtain the Soul Reaver status and unleash another big positional. This time, however, you'll use Gallows, an attack from the target's rear for the increased potency. This is your full level 70 rotation. From here, simply repeat this process. There are a few notes to keep in mind, and I've made graphics below to help you out. First, note that Gibbet and Gallows are interchangeable in their initial order. However, once you utilize one's ability, you must rotate them for the full benefit. These attacks grant a buff for one another, Enhanced Gibbet and Enhanced Gallows. As these are positionals, don't forget that you can use True North to get that increased potency when you're unable to move appropriately around your target. Other than that, make sure you reapply Shadow of Death as necessary to keep building soul gauge and not lose your 10% extra damage dealt to your targets. Lastly, you'll want to use Soul Slice on cooldown, but make sure not to waste any soul gauge. If you're over 50, spend it with a quick Bloodstalk into Gibbet or Gallows, and then use it, as you'll have lost any soul gauge that would have exceeded 100, and that's just a waste. Alright, let's go over the AoE rotation now to help you deal the most damage to most enemies and have fun with those big trash mob pulls in dungeons. First, you will use Whirl of Death, as this marks all targets around you with Death's Design for your 10% increase in damage and building up your soul gauge. Follow this up with Soul Sight, an AoE attack that instantly grants you 50 soul gauge. Spend that fresh 50 on Grim Swamp, a tonal AoE attack that grants you the Soul Reaper status. Under Soul Reaper's effect, you can now use your big blue AoE move, Guillotine, which also strikes enemies in a cone before you. With the soul gauge depleted, you'll build it back up with a 1-2 AoE combo, Spinning Scythe into Nightmare Scythe until you recharge that gauge. Once you have enough souls in the tank, spend them on another Grim Swamp to obtain the Soul Reaper status and unleash another Guillotine attack on your foes. When dealing with multiple targets, this is your main rotation, and you will repeat this from here on with a couple things to keep in mind. Don't forget that unlike Spinning and Nightmare Scythe from your 1-2 combo, Grim Swamp and Guillotine are conal AoE attacks as opposed to hitting all enemies around you, so mind your positioning is not to miss targets and maximize your damage. Along this line, reapply Whirl of Death as often as necessary to keep up Death's Design in order to build more soul gauge and not lose your 10% increased damage. Lastly, you'll want to use Soul Sight on cooldown to make sure not to waste any soul gauge again. If you're over 50, spend it with a quick Grim Swamp into Guillotine, and then pop it as you'll have lost any gauge that would have exceeded 100. Now that you've got the Reaper job unlocked and the level 70 rotation under your belt, it's time to get to some leveling. There are some really awesome things to look forward to as a Reaper. At level 80, you get to become one with your avatar and basically merge with a god of death and look pretty badass in the process, along with some really amazing looking high damage moves that go all the way up to the level cap at 90. Reaper is fun, so have a blast with it. Thanks to 14's ingenious job system, you can swap to any other job at any time with ease if you need a break, but I doubt you'll want to stop until you hit that level cap at 90. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider showing your support by dropping a like and subscribing for more. Let me know if you made it to the end by leaving me a comment below and tell me what job you think will end up being your main in Endwalker. I'll see you in my next video. Also, for those of you who stuck around, I'm going to link the Patreon and Discord in the description below.